Hello, and welcome to Building Capacity for Metacognitive Conversations. I'm Corinne Sloan. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm an associate professor for science education at California State University, Monterey Bay. And this is in collaboration with my wonderful colleague, Lindsay Lazo, an MS counseling student at California State University, Northridge, and a success coach at Pasadena City College. And we're really excited because as we think about the reading apprenticeship framework, we notice that we can incorporate the social dimension and the personal dimension, as well as the cognitive dimension and the knowledge building dimension in the ways that we're designing activities to engage students in thinking about their thinking. And one of the aspects that we really appreciate about metacognitive conversation is the extent to which it can incorporate universal design for learning. So by providing multiple means of engagement, we create opportunities to recruit students' interest, to create opportunities to think about how we sustain their effort and persistence, even efforts to use self-regulation to help monitor their learning. We also know that multiple modes of representation are important. This can be both for perception, but also the way we use language and symbols, and even comprehension itself. We also know that providing different modes of action and expression, such as the way a student responds, but also how they communicate what they know, and the ways in which they incorporate executive function, can be significant when it comes to how students learn. So we've got 3 examples we're so excited to share about metacognitive conversations. The first is in the form of exit tickets. So these are short response tasks after an activity, and they can serve multiple purposes, whether that's eliciting student thinking or an opportunity to provide feedback from the instructor or peers. It's also an opportunity to modify instruction between sessions and ultimately to make metacognition transparent. An example of an exit ticket is one that you see here. This is a Google form that was shared with students after an exam. And the goal of this exit ticket was really to get students thinking about where they felt confident and where there were opportunities to iterate or improve their learning. And then if there was anything that stood out to them as a result of participating in that assessment. Another great example of metacognitive conversations could be the form of journaling. So maybe that metacognitive conversation occurs weekly. It's a pattern that students establish in the class. This can be an opportunity to explicitly teach strategies for planning, monitoring, and evaluating their learning. There are a variety of learning assessment techniques, or LATs, developed by Angelo and Cross, as well as reading apprenticeship strategies that you can build into everyday discourse. The frequency of that journal could be once a week, or it could be every class period, or it could ultimately be something that students build into their own study plan as part of their learning. An example of this is a metacognitive journal that was created in Google Sheets. You'll notice that the tabs at the bottom, each tab represents the tasks for a week. And in that tab then is the purpose for the task to make their thinking visible, maybe the context. So in this class, it's a chemistry course and they're thinking about equilibrium. And then there's a specific task that the student is assigned. So in this case, it's reading sections of a chapter and responding to the prompts. And then the goal is that we're looking for a concrete way for readers to track their thinking and build meaning. So they'll be able to respond to what they saw, notes or quotes from the text, what they thought. That could be anything from questions or connections or comments, and then evidence. Where in the text did they specifically associate that wondering or that understanding? And right, you can build depth here. So if you wanted to go further into your interpretation, or the great aspect about Google Sheets is that you can actually share them and students can provide comments or feedback similar to maybe what you would see in a tool like Perusal. Because we're thinking about multiple modes of expression, we want to think about not just written communication, but maybe an oral communication, a way that a student could use their voice as well as their typed words. And so Flipgrid journaling is a modification of the Think Aloud paired problem solving strategy. What's nice about this is that you can either couple or decouple feedback here. So for example, students generate their video, in this case, maybe a short explanation of how they solved a problem, where they're walking the audience through their approach. And then thinking about the feedback, that could be near-peer feedback. Maybe someone comes in and provides feedback on, oh, I saw that you were able to explain this aspect really clearly. Like I noticed that you identified the least electronegative atom, and that's how you knew to put it at the center. But I didn't hear you describe how you knew how many electrons to put on the oxygen atoms. And so it's an opportunity to kind of deepen and respond to feedback as well. The other really nice part about using universal design for learning as we're thinking about metacognitive conversations is really being strategic about how we scaffold in where feedback occurs for students. And it's also an opportunity for them to build their own patterns for planning their learning, for monitoring. Is this something that makes sense or am I confused? And then also it's a great opportunity to help them build self-assessment or evaluation strategies. So now we'd like for you to design an activity that integrates a form of metacognitive journaling. What would that look like for your class? Is it something in the form of an exit ticket, or is it a Google Sheets journal, or maybe it's a document that students return to as a living document that are kind of running notes around their thinking? Or maybe you have another inspiration from Flipgrid or some other education technology that you think would help surface student voice. It could be one that was presented today or one of your very own. Once you have your design, we'd like for you to share that via Flipgrid as your homework. We're so excited to hear about the strategies that you're proposing for students to implement in your course. You can find Flipgrid on Canvas. This is the end of our third session. Our next session is one in which we're going to be sharing with the community. This is a synchronous session where we meet together. And this is really an opportunity for us to incorporate the cognitive and behavioral components that we talked about around metacognitive conversation, but also to see and learn from each other the strategies that we think we're excited to implement in our class. You made it. If you have any questions, please contact myself or Lindsay through Canvas or email. We're always excited to engage with you and to have the opportunity to learn from and with you. There are several references today that we wanted to make sure were available to you. In particular, the UDL guidelines have wonderful resources to help you think about how to build out multiple modes of expression for your students, or ways in which you can help them cultivate their own self-regulation around learning. And with that, we just wanted to say thank you so very much. And we're excited to see you for our fourth session.